Welcome to the Slide Room Gallery. The exhibition is called Color as Material. This is my first exhibition that I've curated. So Wendy Welch, the director of the gallery, asked me if I would curate a show, and she actually gave me a subject to curate on, and I was pretty excited about it. I work in color myself. I teach color at the school, and I've done that for 11 years now. So I began by thinking about the space, as I always do, and then how I would put artists together who primarily used color. 3 of the artists in the exhibition have been students of mine in my classes here, and one of the artists, Todd Lambreth, is on the faculty here. He teaches painting, and he also teaches up at ExhibitVic. So I'll just start briefly with Karen Jones. Karen Jones, I've worked with her for a couple of years now. And when I asked her to be in the exhibition, there's one piece down at the very end. It's kind of a 2-panel painting. I've been working on those 2-panel paintings with her now for 2 years. I've been her advisor and helped guide her through that. Although she didn't need a lot of guiding because she is one completely directed person. When I asked her to be in the exhibition, I said, Karen, why don't you think of not just hanging art, but thinking about the space. Rather than having a space we put a bunch of paintings up, let's pretend or imagine that the space is a sculpture and we can augment that sculpture. So Karen was pretty excited about that idea, and she worked with her technician, Patrick, her husband, and they built 3 structures inside the gallery that you can see here. Anyone who's familiar with the gallery knows that behind this box right here is a problematic chimney. It comes out about 16 inches, and nobody can ever hang anything on it. So Karen said, yeah, I've never liked that chimney. So I said, well, you come up with an idea of how you're going to build some structures in this gallery. And she said, okay, that's interesting. So I said, but the one thing is that you can't hang art on the structures that you make. They're not secondary, they are going to be art. And she really loved that idea and wanted to work with that. So here we have them. This is a pretty brilliant piece behind us here. As you probably know, there's a column. It's kind of an awkward space, this gallery. There's a column here. So a perfect place to put a sculpture to mask that. So Karen, she designed the pieces to go into the gallery, and then she chose all the colors for them. Let's walk down here and have a little bit closer look at this one here. I don't know if it'll come across in the video. I don't know if you'll be able to see on the right-hand side is a green half, and in that is a slightly different green circle. And if you actually, it will not come up in the video, but if you actually contemplate the left-hand side, there will be another circle. So it's very much based on color theory. Karen also did the piece over this one over here. You can see that piece on there. And on that piece, she has a technique of working. She was working with someone on a 3D printer to cut these concentric rings inside this object that's sitting on that half of the panel. And that's where she drew the information on the sculptural piece that she did. So has these 2 panel pieces in, and the 3 sculptures. Yeah, they're really contemplative pieces, and they talk a lot about space, they talk about color. Incredibly beautifully made. They're made on a clay board, so there is really no reference to them being painted. It is a perfect blue surface and a perfect brown-black surface, and there is no brush mark. It's just very, very so precisely done. The work is so precisely done. When someone was asking me about the graffiti to the outside the window here, and why is that incorporated into the show? Because I did have the option of covering that window, And I thought, no, it's really interesting to see that graffiti outside because it obviously goes with the colors that are in here, but it was a comment on graffiti being really about the ego and expressionism and a personality. But all the work in this exhibition is actually about the opposite. It's about idealism. It's about perfection. And it's about not necessarily who did this piece of art. The art the design is the most important thing, not the artist. The artist is really secondary in this kind of work. Of course, it's wonderful to know who did them, but it isn't signed on there or anything like that. They're real pure paintings. So Karen has those two pieces. Another gentleman that I've worked with for, I think I've worked with him for 15 years. And he's an older man. He was an engineer. And these are two of his pieces right here. All his canvases that he put in the exhibition are 20 by 20. I've always wanted to show his work because of the purity of it. And he studies Joseph Albers and Johannes Itten, all the masters of color. And he kind of gave me carte blanche to hang it however I wanted to hang it. I've had him in my class. And these two pieces, and then behind you, Efren, hope I don't make you turn around too fast here. It was really such a pleasure to hang these on an angle because it brought attention, of course, to the actual square inside the piece. And I made sure that I put those two squares in the same place. The hanging technicians here at the Side Room Gallery and Wendy really gave me so much input and so much help in hanging this work. And well, they really wanted to make it an interesting show, not just a bunch of square canvases sitting on a wall, but have the viewer look at it a different way. We can see in the painting over on the right-hand side there, it was hung specifically at that level, partly to avoid this light fixture here, and obviously in coordination with that orange wall. And it just felt so much better to be lower like that. It felt almost like a shadow had tipped. So even though they're completely formalist work with no figure and ground, no space, no depth, the imagination really works when it looks at a flat plane like that, of course, because orange will come forward and the cool greens will go backwards. So all kinds of things happen when you have such simplicity. And let's talk briefly about Todd Lambreth. Todd Lambreth has two pieces in the exhibition. As I said, he's faculty and he's teaching up at UVic now. Now he did a series of paintings, trompe-l'oeil paintings, which really he turned the canvas around and so exposed the canvas on the back and the stretcher frame, and he made paintings about that. So the paintings were really paintings of backs of canvases. And but I saw this body of work that he was involved in down in his studio on Fizgard Street, and I was just so drawn to this work because of his use of color and composition. He makes them from collage, and still a nod to the trompe-l'oeil because these red pieces here are packing tape. So he used some packing tape when he made the collage. So some of it is about flat realism and imitating something that's exactly that way. And then some of the painting is just pure formalistic design. We can really see that down in this piece, the green piece, that it's this really wonderful juxtaposition between just formal painting of the green and the light blue and how they all work together, and then this electrical tape. That is, again, that idea of, is it real electrical tape or is it a painting of electrical tape? So, fabulously interesting paintings. Another artist that I had in one of my classes, she became really interesting in the sides of canvases, and we'll have a look at these two pieces here because we have to actually look at them on their sides. They're specifically hung really close together, and when you see them, from the front, you don't really see the color that's involved. But she said, when she was working with him, she said, no, I want to paint all the sides of the canvases and let that be the color relationship. So really it is color and form, just like Todd has used color and form, but she's actually used real form. So she's coloring the form and the edges of the piece. So it's a pretty advanced way of thinking about painting. It almost becomes structural, but is that a painted form or is it a real form? And here's another small piece that she's done here. And you can see the play of, are they objects? When you look at them straight on, you don't really see it. When you move to the side, you can see, oh, there is color and there is form. So always going back to this idea, and it was my opening remark in my curator's statement, that color always has to take a form. It always has to be a rectangle or a dog leg or a piece of tape. So it always has to take some kind of form. And in this work, if we go back to to Karen's work, you can see that she made a form here and painted it a color. So the form and the color are married. They are the same thing. That's why there's no need to hang any art on here, no need to do a signature, no need to do another painting. We can just really appreciate that pure form and that pure color. And as the audience comes to this exhibition, they'll see how that all works, that they play so beautifully against the two-dimensional pieces on the walls. Maybe there's, we could look at these little pieces over here. This is again by Bill Turner. Did I mention those ones were by Marilyn Welch, the little side pieces. And these ones here are done by my engineer, Bill Turner. And these are works that he did before he did the 20 by 20s on a square. But I really love how these pieces go together because he used the idea of transparency, that color is overlapping other color, and of course, they're all called phi, P-H-I. The whole series is called phi because of the system of measurement that he uses, which is based on the golden rectangle, which is ironic because it's in a square, but that's why these rectangles work so beautifully inside that square. So really, really thoughtful work. I love these two pieces hanging together. And especially this one here as it relates to the rest of the exhibition. So the surprise when everyone came to see the exhibition was, wow, did you tell them what colors to paint? And I said, I didn't. It just all came together. Karen decided on all of those colors herself, and they just ended up working with everything. So I don't know why the colors worked out so beautifully together. There's a certain oneness to them. There's a certain one mind that put them together. I put the artists together, but I didn't have a lot of choice about the work until I actually saw it. So it just came together really, really well. One last little piece we'll look at over here is again by Marilyn Welch. And so she did these two watercolors, and I asked her to put them in the exhibition. And when we framed them, we chose to splice them right together to have the dichotomy of the two sides of them, and to float them on a color that was in the painting and make the frame the same color as well. So, thinking of that idea that art doesn't have to be separate, it doesn't have to have a white mat and a black frame, it actually should be all one piece. So again, going back to the title of the exhibition, color as material, everything was a material and everything went together. Looks fantastic against this gray, this plain wall here. And then going back to maybe look at this one for one last time here. It's a piece of MDF board. Her technician helped her figure out how to take a router, route it out, move the jig, route it out again, move the jig. So she actually physically routed this whole piece here and then painted it afterwards. But what an accomplishment and what a perfection of work that is. So clean. But you can see when you do this kind of work, it actually has to be perfect. It can't have any flaws to it. It can't be poorly painted or anything like that. We notice that with all of the artist's work, that it's so precisely made. No reference to the brush, just pure painting, that pure image with no expression at all.